The Bunyip, one of Australia's most enduring and mysterious legendary creatures, occupies a unique space in the mythology of the continent, blending indigenous cultural wisdom, colonial-era fear, environmental symbolism, and the primal human fascination with unseen forces lurking at the edges of civilization. And to understand the Bunyip in a truly comprehensive way, one must look not only at the stories themselves, but at the land, the psychology, the colonial imagination, and the spiritual frameworks that shaped those stories across thousands of years. Originating from the oral traditions of numerous Aboriginal nations, each with its own specific geography, language, and spiritual worldview, the Bunyip does not refer to a single uniform creature so much as an entire category of water-dwelling beings, spirits or monsters believed to inhabit swamps, billabongs, riverbeds, creeks and waterholes, places that in the harsh Australian climate were both life-giving and dangerous. In some regions, the Bunyip is described as a massive, seal-like or dog-like creature, with smooth black fur, whiskers and a booming roar that echoes across the water at night. In others, it is depicted as a long-necked cryptid with small glowing eyes and a serpentine body. In still others, it appears more like a supernatural force rather than a physical creature, capable of shape-shifting, mimicking voices, or punishing those who disrespect sacred waters. What all variations share, however, is the idea that the Bunyip embodies the hidden dangers of the natural world, especially wetlands, which were essential for survival yet capable of drowning, disease, and unpredictability, and the concept that certain places were not meant for casual human intrusion, but required respect, ritual, and humility. When British colonizers arrived in the early 19th century and began hearing indigenous stories translated through imperfect linguistic bridging, the Bunyip quickly became a subject of fear, ridicule, fascination, and political storytelling. Newspapers of the 1840s and 1850s carried dramatic accounts of Bunyip sightings, ranging from giant footprints along the Murray River to roars heard in the nighttime swamps, and on several occasions, colonists claim to have found remains of mysterious creatures, including a skull displayed in the Sydney Museum in 1847 that scientists later identified as likely belonging to a deformed calf, or perhaps a familiar marsupial. This period, sometimes referred to as the Bunyip craze, revealed more about colonial psychology than about the creature itself. European settlers, unfamiliar with Australia's bizarre fauna, such as the platypus, which they initially thought was a hoax, were primed to believe in a monstrous water beast, especially in a landscape that felt both hostile and alien to them, and the Bunyip became both a literal mystery and a symbolic reflection of settler anxiety. While colonists framed the Bunyip as a cryptid, indigenous communities understood the creature far more deeply as a guardian or warning spirit, linked to dreamtime beliefs and environmental stewardship. Many Aboriginal cosmologies do not separate the spiritual from the ecological, meaning that waterholes inhabited by Bunyips were often protected areas where children were discouraged from wandering and where cultural protocols governed fishing, travel, and gathering of resources. Thus, the Bunyip can be interpreted as a method of preserving ecological balance and reducing human risk, an early form of environmental psychology encoded in myth. Linguists note that the word Bunyip itself likely comes from the Wemba or Wergaya languages of southeastern Australia, though similar creatures appear across many nations. In the Yolngu regions of Arnhem Land, there are water spirits like the Mimi. In the Noongar stories of Western Australia, there is the Waugul, a serpent-like being tied to watercourses. And in the Gamilaroi region, there are tales of creatures that guard deep pools and seasonal rivers. From a cultural anthropology perspective, the Bunyip reflects how ancient societies used myth to encode survival strategies in unpredictable environments. But from a psychological perspective, the creature also speaks to universal human fears, the terror of dark water, the idea of something unseen watching from beneath the surface, the possibility of punishment for overstepping boundaries, and the primal instinct to create narratives around unexplained natural sounds like booming frog calls, splashes, or wind moving through reeds at night. Some researchers propose that Bunyip myths may have originated from Ice Age megafauna fossils periodically exposed by erosion, such as the enormous Diprotodon or giant wombats known as Zygomaturus, whose bones, when unearthed by indigenous Australians thousands of years ago, could easily have been interpreted as belonging to mythical aquatic beasts, especially since many fossil sites sit near ancient,